Hello friends, welcome back. In part 1, I had discussed the answers of 10 important questions, and in this part I'm going to discuss the answers of remaining questions. So, the first question is, why researchers should quote latest study in his or her study? Quoting latest study serves three purposes. First is to give proper credit to the authors of the words or ideas that you are incorporating in your research paper. Second is to allow those who are reading your work to locate your sources in order to learn more about the ideas that you are including in your paper. And third is to citing your sources consistently and accurately, which can help you avoid committing plagiarism in your writing. Next question is, what is APA? APA is the style of documentation of sources used by American Psychological Association, and this form of writing research papers is basically used in the social sciences like psychology, anthropology, sociology, as well as education and other fields. Next question is, what is SPSS? SPSS stands for Statistical Package for the Social Sciences, and it is used by various kinds of researchers for doing complex statistical data analysis. And the SPSS software package was created for the management and statistical analysis of social science data. If we talk about its launching, so it was originally launched in 1968 by SPSS Incorporation and was later acquired by IBM in 2009. Next question is, name all the various statistical techniques. So the techniques are mean, standard deviation, regression, sample size determination, hypothesis testing. Mean is basically the average, which is the sum of a list of numbers, which is further divided by the number of items on the list. Next technique is standard deviation. We represent standard deviation by Greek letter, that is called sigma, and standard deviation is the measure of a spread of data around the mean. So if you have high standard deviation, it signifies that data is spread more widely from the mean, whereas a low standard deviation signifies that data align with the mean. Next technique is regression. It is the relationship between dependent and explanatory variables, which are usually charted on a scattered plot. It can also tell you that whether the relationships are strong or weak. Next technique is sample size determination. So to understand sample size determination, it is important to know that when measuring a large data set, or you can call population, like a workforce, you don't always need to collect information from every number of that population, where only a sample does the job just as well. Here, the trick is to determine the right size for a sample to be accurate, and using proportion and standard deviation methods, you are able to accurately determine the right size of the sample you need to make your data collection statistically significant. Next statistical technique is hypothesis testing. It is also commonly called t-testing. Hypothesis testing assesses if a certain premise is accurately true for your data set or population, and in data analysis you consider that the result of a hypothesis test is statistically significant if the result couldn't have happened by random chance. And hypothesis tests are used in everything from science and research to business and economic. Next question is, what is significance level, and what do you understand by 0.01 and 0.05 significance level? So the significance level is also known as alpha, which is a measure of the strength of the evidence that must be present in your sample before you will reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the effect is statistically significant. In this, the researcher determines the significance level before conducting the experiment. Or to understand in simple terms, we can say that the significance level is the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis when it is true. For example, a significance level of 0.05 indicates that a 5% risk of concluding that a difference exists when there is no actual difference. And lower significance levels indicate that you require stronger evidence before you will reject the null hypothesis. Next question is, what do you understand by one-tailed and two-tailed test? So basically the one-tailed test is appropriate if the estimated value may depart from the reference value in only one direction, whether it is left or right, but not in both directions. Whereas two-tailed test is appropriate if the estimated value is greater or less than a certain range of values. For example, whether a test taker may score above or below a specific range of scores. And this method, that is a two-tailed test, is used for null hypothesis testing, and if the estimated value exists in the critical areas, the alternative hypothesis is accepted over the null hypothesis. Next question is, what do you understand by degree of freedom? It is also represented by DF. So degree of freedom or DF indicate the number of independent values that can vary in an analysis without breaking any constraints. It is an important essential idea that appears in many contexts throughout statistics, including hypothesis test, probability distribution, and regression analysis. Next question is, what do you understand by parametric and non-parametric test? This is very basic question. I have already uploaded a detailed video on parametric and non-parametric test, so you can also refer to that video. You can find the link of that video in the description. So parametric tests are those tests which make assumptions about the parameter of the population distribution from which the sample is drawn, and this is often the assumption that population data are normally distributed, whereas non-parametric tests are distribution free and as such can be used for non-normal variables. There are separate statistical tests for parametric and non-parametric, like a paired t-test comes under parametric test, Pearson correlation, ANOVA, these are parametric tests, and non-parametric tests are Mann-Whitney U-test, Spearman correlation, Kruskal-Wallis test. Next question is, t-test is what type of test? So in the last question, as I have already mentioned, t-test is parametric test. Next question is, what is t-test and what is ANOVA? Where these can be used, you have to differentiate. So first of all, you need to understand what are these tests, t-test and ANOVA test. So the t-test is a method that determines whether two populations are statistically different from each other, whereas ANOVA determines whether three or more populations are statistically different from each other. Means when you have to compare means of two variables, then you have to use t-test, and for three or more variables you have to use ANOVA. Actually both of them look at difference in means and the spread of the distribution, that is called variance across the group. However, the ways that they determine the statistical significance are different. So next part of this question is where this can be used. So these tests can be performed when the samples are independent of each other and the samples have normal distribution, or when the sample number is high, for example more than 30 per group. Actually more samples are better, but the test can be performed with as little as 3 samples per condition. Till now I have discussed answers of 10 more important questions, and in total, including part 1 and part 2, I have discussed answers of 20 questions till now. There are few more questions which I'll answer in next part of this video, that is part 3. So don't forget to watch part 3. See you in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care.